Now, of course, ladies and gents, we've had a bit of an in and out with the keepers this season, Mr. Weaver and, of course, Mr. O'Donnell popping in here, there and everywhere. Craig, can you... there's still a good spirit down there with Mr. Weaver and Mr. Bywater down the training ground, do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I noticed most when he talks to the keepers down there, they really get on with Andy Rhodes. I think he's a fantastic coach. I know Stephen Bywater, that was one of the main reasons he joined in the first place. And I think they just love going to training. That's one of the key things you get. They work really hard, they train really hard, but main of all, they enjoy it. And going back to Bywater himself, he's such a character around the dressing room. He's a bit of a fool. You know, he says what he thinks. He'll prat around as much as you like, but he's a really good footballer. He's up at the crack of dawn doing his yoga. He's got a real commitment to this club, and I think he's really enjoyed his time here.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Bywater on Twitter is hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you haven't got Twitter, it's worth going on just to go back through his tweets and look at some of these photos. There's been photos of him in the bath. There's been photos of him with food all over his face. There's been photos of him, covered in all sorts. So, absolutely, we need that kind of player, gents. We need that kind of a chap that's going to give the lads a bit of a oomph every now and again and put a smile on everybody's face.
He's actually having these strong personalities back in the squad for the first time in a long, long time. You know, we look back to the Big Ron squad of the early 90s, and every one of those players was a character. They were strong personalities, and they worked hard and they played hard. And I think we've got a little bit of that in this squad, and that's built that team spirit that has enabled them to really push on. When at times this season, other teams would have thrown in the towel.
Oh, absolutely, chaps. And on with the game, then on with the game. And, of course, then we struck back. And who would it be? Of course, who else is going to score the winning goal for us? Miguel Oliveira, our Spanish superstar. Fantastic. I can only imagine what it was like in the Wednesday end at that point. Chaps, Ed, can you give us a bit of a lowdown from your end?
Well, I'm not going to preempt my man love for Miguel Oliveira. I'm a little bit obsessed with him at this point.
Who is he?
He's been incredible the second half of this season. He's literally dragged us kicking and screaming to the point where we're within touching distance of the automatic promotion. As for the goal, well, it was one of them things that you know, they'd equalised, and for once we'd gone a little bit flat and a little bit quiet on that terrace, and we were trying to get ourselves revved up again. And to be honest, we got this corner, and it was one of those ones where you thought, well, you know, there's every chance, but realistically, it's probably going to be headed out. The conditions aren't good, etc., etc. He rose like a salmon. He only got a tiny touch on it, but he goes into the side netting inside the goal, and the place erupted. Absolutely incredible. We hadn't gone down. We'd come back strong within a few minutes. I've never seen a celebration like it. I mean, I was all over the place. I was trying to hold up my 4-year-old boy. He'd been on top of the crash barrier. I was trying to make sure I didn't drop him on his head, but at the same time, I'm trying to kiss everybody within 10 feet of me. It was a mad scene. And I looked up and I saw Lara right in front of me. I was about a third of the way along the terrace. And Lara's right there, and he's roaring, literally roaring like a bear. It was a wonderful moment.
Yeah, he had his arms up right in front of us. Well, I was just to the left of where he was celebrating, and it was absolutely fantastic. As I leant forward to try and celebrate, somebody grabbed me around the back of the throat, and that was it. They yanked me straight backwards, and I went off my feet. I turned around, got back up, grabbed somebody else by the throat, and did the same to them. There were legs and feet everywhere. And I'm going to tell you, I had to return some stick back to a 6-year-old girl who was sat in the stand opposite me, who stuck her tongue out at me earlier on when Brentford scored. She got it back, big style. I gave her a tongue in. Oh.
Steady on, old boy, steady on. This is a family show.
I stuck my hand and my thumb on my nose and gave her the finger wiggle. She had it big style. There was no way that I'm getting done by a 6-year-old.
It was diabolical liberties she were taking, I think.
Oh, she got too far and she needed to learn her place.
Absolutely magnificent, old boy. Oh, good Lord. So, of course, gentlemen, the match did crack on, and absolutely wonderful, absolutely marvellous scenes. And, I mean, obviously, chaps, you've already said, Eddie, that Bywater was your man of the match. Beastie, would you agree with that? Would you...
Yeah, I would agree with that. The saves that he made were crucial saves. But I'd also like to give a big mention to Chris Lyons because in terrible conditions, it didn't really suit his game, but I thought he did a really, really good job throughout the game.
Here, he was a safe pair of hands throughout. He didn't play a ball wrong, and he didn't play a ball that put us into trouble, especially with the conditions that he had. So, yeah, big shout for Chris Lowndes. Lowndes? Lines.
No, don't worry, chaps.
Good old Lounsey.
Still thinking about that tonguing.
We've got a little aid to memoir for you to remember his name later on, but we'll get to that when we come to it. And right then, legends, that seems to put that game to bed. It's all behind us now, and on to the next game. It's come down to this, chaps, last game of the season, and it's in our hands. We're not waiting for anybody to slip up. We're not waiting for injuries. We're not waiting for no more. It just comes down to the last game, the last football game of the season. Wonderful stuff, absolutely wonderful stuff. Craig, what are the players like? Are they up for it? Are they bouncing, or can you see any nerves, or what's it like down there?
I'm sure there'll be a few nerves around the place, but these players, they've been playing catch up all season, and Dave Jones instilled this mentality into them where it's just take each game as it comes. Let's try and catch the team that's above us. Keep going. And he said this all along, and I think the players have really taken that in their strides. And I think now that they finally overhauled United after weeks and weeks, a couple of months worth of trying to catch up, we finally got ahead of them now. There's one game to go. I really can't see their heads dropping now and thinking, yeah, we've done our job. We can just turn up and beat Wycombe. I think these players are so focused. They'll be determined to go out there and not only win the game on Saturday, but put on a show in front of, 37,000 Wednesday nights?
Oh, absolutely wonderful. But obviously, the news did come out that Sheffield Wednesday will be releasing another 6,000 tickets in the upper and lower west stands, and 4 hours sold out. Massive, absolutely massive queues outside Hillsborough. And it must be said, ladies and gents, of course, the Blunts did sell out for their last game. And what did they charge? £10 for adults and £5 for a child, or something like that, gents? Do we know?
I think it was something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, and they managed to sell out at cut price, but of course we managed to sell out full price. None of your nonsense trying to get people in. We're there. The Wednesdays are there. Massive support for the last game of the season.
I noticed the Blunts are doing a beam back for their last game, aren't they? Exeter. I've also noticed they've had to drop the price to £5 a ticket for that now, so they'll probably get 20 or 30 there.
Oh, yeah, so when they've come in from the farm and they've had a hard day truffle snuffling and snorting about here, there and everywhere, they might as well go and watch themselves lose. Okay, Wednesday fans, we have some fantastic breaking news, a Wednesday week exclusive. We've managed to get our hands on some top secret undercover audio from Special Agent Wilson as he nears the completion of his incredibly difficult mission. Here, have a listen to this.
Broadsword calling Danny Boy. Broadsword calling Danny Boy. Over.
Broadsword, sir.
Okay, keep your voice down, number 2. They'll hear us. We have to be quiet as I'm speaking to you from the pig's mop cupboard. I think they call it a hotel. It's not very big, though. Not enough room to stretch your trotters in there. No wonder they have curly tails. Any road up, Broadsword. Do I have the go-ahead for completion of the mission? Can I have the end codes for Operation Third Tier Pigs Forever? I've done my best. It's been very difficult. I've given them hope, and I've even managed to get them on my side. But things are getting tricky now. I took Morgs out for his morning walk the other day, and because I'd let him off the lead, he got covered in the brown stuff. Obviously, I had to wash him off. Took him up to the bath, and when I rolled up my sleeve, I think they saw my Wednesday tattoo. Mind you, Broadsword, that nearly wasn't a problem either. As old Morgs sat in front of the fire drying off, the smell of crackling was almost overpowering. I had to move him. His head had gone very, very crispy. I almost covered him in balsamic and chowed down right there and then.
I'm effecting entrance within the hour. Please have transport standing by. Over.
Hold on, Broadsword. There's no need to panic. There's things to do yet. What about Morgs? I thought everyone loved dear old Morgs.
You must be joking. Over and out.
There's no need to get sniffy, old boy. You can't rush these things, Broadsword. It'll be hard for me leaving old Morgs behind. But I suppose it's all part of deep undercover operations. It's a good job old Morgs is not too bright. It'll take him a week to realise I've gone. There'll be no one around now to stop him humping the chair leg. Mind you, I think chair leg is a very poor nickname for young Maguire. Obviously, I won't make the party on Saturday, but once you send me the in-game codes, I have a job to finish here. Oops, shh. I think I can hear McCabe outside the door. He must want a mop. I have to go, but remember, we're all Wednesday, aren't we?
Yeah, so like I say, ladies and gents, so we'll crack on with a preview of the Wycombe game.
Chris Waddle, is he going to have a crack? Oh, he does! He scores! Anything Paul Gascoigne can do, Chris Waddle can do.
Match preview.
Right then, ladies and gents, so like I say, we're going to crack on and have a little bit of preview of the Wycombe game now. It has to be said, massive support is going to be there. But what do we think about the team that's going to be there? I mean, obviously, Mr. Beavers, we were singing his praises last week. Obviously, we're happy that he's back. But do you think we'll see him at left back after his performance on Saturday? Eddie, what do you think, old boy?
Yeah, I'd suggest that Dave Jones is probably going to pick him, unless amazingly, Reader's back and fit. But no, I'd be more than happy to see Beavers. He's a safe pair of hands. He's not going to do anything silly, apart from maybe concede a penalty. No, he's not. He's a solid player. He's exactly the sort of player that we need. He knows what it's like to play in front of the big crowds at Hillsborough. So I say put him in.
Is there any news either way on that, Craig, from ground?
Regards Reader.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, nothing as yet. I mean, it'll be later in the week. Obviously, he wasn't fit for the game of the week, and I wouldn't have thought that he will be back for Saturday, but there might be a last-minute recovery. I hear he was at the Sheffield United game on Saturday cheering on Stevenage, so who knows, maybe that's giving him the fillip to get back to fitness and start on Saturday.
I heard that he was the one that started the chant of "We're going up with the Wednesday" that the Stevenage fans were singing on Saturday.
Oh, absolutely marvellous, boy. Can you imagine? Oh, fair play to the chaps. And must be said, I do believe the poetry corner that we had last week added a little bit to that, we give them a little bit of room for the Stevenage chaps over there. But more about that later. More about that later on with the Wycombe game. Gents, I must ask, Mr. Ranger, of course, being on loan, and how did he play on Saturday? Of course, we have got plenty of people fighting for that position. Do we think we'll see him again? Like Fudge said a few weeks ago, I don't know a great deal about him. I saw him at the Oldham game. Didn't do a great deal for me. But what do you think about the chap?
Every week, he seems to oscillate between looking like a real classy player who just needs some service and looking like a sort of aimless lump who's running around not close enough to make use of Gary Madine's knock-ons. So, I don't know. I still think he's got a part to play, but if it comes down to whether we want someone who's going to score goals, I think we'd sooner see Ryan Lowe in there. If it comes down to someone that's going to make a nuisance of themselves and muscle themselves onto the ball, then I think we want Chris O'Grady on there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's one or two Wednesday fans that have changed his name to Nil Danger. And it's hard to disagree with him at times. I've never seen a striker with less anticipation as him. Now, when that ball gets punted forward from Bywater and that it's heading straight for Madine's head, to me, it should be a natural instinct for the strike partner to think, where's that ball going to end up? Once Madine goes up for that ball, I need to think where that ball's going. And he doesn't. He's way too close to Madine, or he doesn't anticipate the running behind. And to me, he's not what we need. And maybe in the last game of the season, the crowd favourite, Ryan Lowe, might just turn it on when we need it.
Do you think he'll start, Beastie? Do you think he'll start? Or will he come on later on, do you think?
Well, we can only go by what we've seen from Dave Jones, can't we? And so far, he has favoured them two big lads on from the start and bring Ryan Lowe on late, if he does bring him on. But I'd love to see him. And we heard at the last home game what the crowd wanted. They wanted Ryan Lowe on, and they were chanting his name. Unfortunately, he wasn't even on the bench. It was a bit of a wasted chant, really. But at least Dave Jones knows where the crowd's loyalties lie. If it comes to a choice between Nil Danger, now Ranger, and Ryan Lowe, then the crowd would want Ryan Lowe every single time.